fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
So the way I'm figuring it, it's 52, 53 miles due east of Ship Bottom. You know, that area where everybody's been banging on those yellowfin tuna. It's been phenomenal the last 2 weeks. No, it's not a spot burn. It's not a spot burn because every offshore guy knows where those fish are right now. It's also not a spot burn because the weather, the offshore weather this week is not so good, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better in the next few days, as all eyes are on Laura. Could be beginning of next week, middle of next week, before we find out if those yellowfin out there are still chomping. I'm Jim Hutchinson, New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. We should start by sending prayers out to our friends and families down in the Gulf of Mexico. This is a terrible storm, Category 4, barrels into Louisiana and Texas. And by all accounts, it's not looking like a good one, especially with that storm surge. I would imagine we're all going to be spending a lot of our Thursday looking at video and getting updates from loved ones down there as we sort things out on Thursday. And of course, it is going to eventually have an impact on us. As a matter of fact, looking midweek at the forecast, that storm Laura is expected to hang right around the Arkansas-Missouri border right before, of course, heading straight for New Jersey, New York, and Delaware. Of course, that's what we need. Another bit of fun. Look, we've got a warm front moving across our area Thursday into Thursday night. It's expected to stall for a day or so as low pressure areas develop and track east along with that front. And of course, then we've got post-tropical cyclone Laura expected to arrive sometime Saturday night into early Sunday morning. So it's something to keep an eye on. Of course, with the offshore weather we've had this week, then coupled with that storm barreling through, it's going to be a few days before we get some good intel on where those yellowfin happen to be, whether it's Bacardi, Texas Tower, Triple Rex. Of course, they've been down to the hot dog, but that Triple Rex area has been hot on the jig, the chunk, and of course the pop in recent weeks. Inshore waters along the Jersey Shore could get a little bit lumpy as well for the next few days, parts of the next few days, especially as we get a few periodic wind fits along the way. But if the weather turns a little bit sporty, and I'm not sure that it necessarily will on the inshore waters, but you may want to grab the family, head out to the bulkhead. The crabbing has been awesome. If you haven't gone out to the bulkheads, the dockside piers with a drop line or maybe a crab trap, that might be something you can do. If you want to stay close, the blowfish in parts of Barnegat Bay, think the research buoy, that's also a good opportunity. And of course, you can also do a little bit of fluking from shore, as we are having some good reports, some decent reports of fluke in some of the inlets as well. In fact, Jake DeJulia hit the Manasquan inlet wall for a good fluke of 25 inches the other day. The ticket there, of course, it's just a jig head or a bucktail tipped with a fish bite fight club, or of course the gulp, just enough of a jig head to just kind of get it to kiss the bottom. If it's too much, you're just going to sink it down. You can't work it as much from a stationary standpoint. And if it's too light, it's going to stay suspended, suspended high. So you want that jig head to just kind of move along the bottom, jig it up every once in a while, work it until you figure it out. Another good tip is to use a rounded ball jig, or perhaps a rounded sinker, a bank sinker, something that's rounded so you can actually, it digs less and it's easier to roll along that structure. I use them when I'm fluke fishing in the surf out in the front beaches sometimes, because you can get that rounded teardrop style sinker. You get it out with a teaser or a high-low, or two hooks, one baited with mullet or a squid strip or something. And I cast it out and just kind of bring it back until you feel that sinker roll down into a slough. That's a lot of times where you're going to get that bite in the surf. Now, we are getting some good reports out front, of course, when conditions allow, outside of Manasquan, staying in that area for a bit. Axel Carlson has been pretty good for a lot of folks. In fact, it was very good for Tom Cintula over the weekend. He had fish to 9 pounds. Tom says that 9-pounder was only his second keeper fluke ever. I'd like to tell you it gets easier, Tom. Maybe it will for you. Not sure. Another jumbo was weighed in the other day at the folks Jersey Hooker Outfitters in Brick. They were so excited when this young lady came in with a 9.5-pound fluke, they never even asked for her name. That's Brianna Fox of Point Pleasant with that 9.5-pound fish. Nice fish, Brianna. A little bit farther north, we're finding out that fluke is not the only item on the menu for the guys heading out of Shark River. In fact, over the weekend and to start the week, some good-sized bluefin popped up just offshore of Shark River, piling on some bunker. In fact, Parker Pete was on one of his bucktail extravaganzas the other day. Luckily, he had gear rigged up because they encountered those bluefin just about 2 or 3 miles. In fact, you could see land pretty close nearby as they were throwing poppers on those bluefin. And how's this for a combo trip out of Shark River? Fluke to 8.5 pounds and bluefin. Same wreck, same drift. Apparently, Captain Steve of White Crab Charters out of Shark River, he saw marks under the boat while they were fluking, dropped the jig down. So as they're reeling up a bluefin tuna, also brought up an 8.5 pound fluke. That's the charter I want. Again, if you can't get out front, hit the inlet. Whether you're on land or if you want to get out to the point where you're like, I don't want to push it any farther, some of the inlet action has been pretty decent. In fact, Steve and Carol Ann at Jingles reported that Trey Avila hit a 6.4 pound fluke in Little Egg Inlet just the other day on White Gulp while fishing aboard the Miss Beach Haven. It can be slow out front too. Don't think the grass is always greener. But sometimes those wrecks and reefs aren't given up the way we would think. Bob Bolger let me know that he was fishing over the weekend with his buddy Mike. They were at Townsend Inlet Reef. They had 18 flatties, but only 2 of them were keepers, 18 and 22 inches. So you may have to work a little bit harder, and sometimes you may have to be willing to donate a couple of rigs to the wreck in order to bring home some dinner. David at Seacon Bay, he let me know that Back Bay flounder bite, summer flounder bite in the Back Bays, Atlantic and Cape May County, it certainly has slowed down a little bit, but they do exist. And he says they seem to be favoring the peanut bunker and mullet at this time. Of course, those baits are starting to get active in the Back Bays, the creeks, the canals. You'll see them. This is the time of year where it seems like when that fluke bite slows down during the doldrums, the dog days of summer, there's that period where it's slow. But as that bait starts to funnel out the creeks and come off the meadows, that's a time when the fluke kind of come back in again, and it might be a good opportunity to work some of those edges along those feeder creeks where they're dumping out into the channel. Now, Dave did say that perching in the local creeks is still good. He said that's been a nice summer surprise if you don't feel like going far from port as well. And how's this for a surprise? Harry here hit a 14.5 pound, 33.5 inch striper that went for a white gulp and a spot fillet on the top of the incoming tide from the pier at Grassy Sound Marina. Now, this is not the first good striper that I've heard from Grassy Sound Marina in recent days. And again, maybe it's because of the peanut bunker and mullet that are stacked up in the back. So maybe it's time to start thinking of our fall days. We are in the final weekend of August, so it could be time to start thinking about those Back Bays, to start gunning for some of those Back Bay stripers. Can you believe it? We're talking about fall already. We're almost in September. You also have those sheepshead in Cape May County. They're along some of the jetties. We talked about it last week. They're on the bridge pilings and some of the old piers along the back, even across the other side of the Delaware, where Jim Myers, he picked up some sand crabs from Lewis Harbor Marina in Lewis, Delaware, and he hit the wall. Not figuratively, literally went out and hit the wall. That's that area. If you read the recent edition of the Fisherman magazine with Eric Burnley's spotlight on Delaware Bay, you know what I'm talking about. But he had 3 sheepshead there at the wall on sand crabs. Only 2 of them wanted to go for a photograph. One was camera shy, or it was at the cleaning station there at Lewis Harbor. Again, middle of the week, getting into Thursday, it's hard to predict what this weather is going to do this weekend with this system barreling up from the Gulf of Mexico, but we learn to adapt, to improvise, to overcome. Take, for example, my friend Joseph DeVito here. Took his daughter Gemma to the Cape May Zoo the other day, and she caught a bluegill. How about that? Joseph said, it's a great place with a lot of action for children to catch and release fish. I never knew that I could fish the Cape May Zoo. I got to pass myself off as a kid first. I'm immature enough. Now, if I can just find that SpongeBob SquarePants fishing outfit of mine. Tell you what, I'm going to look for that. I'm going to send you over to George, our Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, things are a little bit breezy down the lake, so I decided to duck here in the studio for a little bit. But the story's kind of been the same as it has been the past few weeks. Conditions continue to improve. I reached out again to Eric Goodstall this week, who has been hitting all these local lakes and streams, and he's still getting on this trout bite. You know, a lot of great trout. You got the rainbows, the browns, even some really nice native brookies are picking up in these streams. And they're being pretty aggressive, hitting them on spinners still. Now, even the Delaware River is still doing really strong. I was talking with river guide Tim Keebler, and he's saying the smallmouth bite is still really, really good, and there's much more fishing to come in the river. You're going to start getting those walleye and those muskie. You're going to start really picking up, even though they are starting to bite right now. Talking about muskie, I was talking with Charlie Roberts, and he was out on the Delaware and got into a beautiful muskie himself. And that's just one. There's another one. Ryan Swoop got into one as well. So a couple of really nice fish are starting to pick up on the Delaware. Great sign that things are picking up. Hopefully we can get everybody back out in the water real soon, get these water temps down. Fishing is getting hot, guys. Be sure you get out. Let's get on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
If you plan on hitting the beaches this weekend, make sure you bring along those tins, the epoxy jigs, the slim waves, the deadly dicks. A lot of cocktail blues along the Jersey Shore. You might have an opportunity with Spanish mackerel. Haven't seen them in a few weeks, not since that last hurricane, or maybe this hurricane coming through. We'll bring them back along the beaches, maybe add some bonita into the mix as well. Kingfish has been a phenomenal bite, mostly central and South Jersey. High-low rigs, smaller hooks, pieces of clam, bloodworm, or of course the fish bites will work there. We are getting some pockets of kingfish in the northern coast as well. We talked to Fisherman's Den in Belmar recently. They said there was a little spate of kingfish activity along the beaches of Asbury Park. And of course you have those fluke in the wash. The one thing about working some of the Jersey Shore beaches into Delaware for fluke is if you find a barren stretch, keep working it. Or keep working along the beach. Stay out of that barren stretch. Find yourself where you get a bite or two, a couple of fish. Work that pocket. A lot of times those fluke are in the same place. Again, you can bait up with the rounded sinker and a dropper or a high-low rig, and of course the bucktails, the jig heads with gulp or fish bites will work pretty well. For you kayakers, a new name appears on the Fisherman magazine's Coastal Kayak Clash. Another New Jersey name as Bob Gross hops aboard with a second place blackfish taken from his yak. Listen, you only have a couple of more days for August, and the fish of the month is the bird. Bird is the word. Sea robin is the fish of the month for August. It's a tasty fish, don't laugh. And I'll tell you, it could be worth a $100 Yak Attack gift card as well, because we don't have a qualifying fish right now. So you have a few more days to go over to thefisherman.com, register for the Coastal Kayak Clash, get out on your kayak and get one of these birds, get on the board, get yourself a Yak Attack gift card, and of course, you're competing through November with Fisherman subscribers or Fisherman registrations from throughout the region, from New Jersey, Delaware Bay up to New York, and of course our New England edition as well. While you're over at thefisherman.com, you will notice we have a brand new website. If it's the first time you are visiting the new website, subscribers, you're going to have to log in again. That's all secure information, your username and password. We can't pass it from one site to the next. So you got to go into our new site, get your username and password again, but that's going to unlock all the secrets behind the firewall. That means you get the digital edition. It's laid out in HTML format. It's a lot easier to read. You've got the hot spots and all the tips and tactics you've come to trust at thefisherman.com, but make sure you check out our new website. Let me know how you think, or what you think of it, and if you have any problems, be sure to call our customer service number. They'll help guide you through the process of the new website. Again, all eyes are on Laura as it comes up along the middle of the United States from the Gulf of Mexico. Again, our hearts are out to those folks in Louisiana and Texas. God bless you. I'm sure if you need something, you can let us know. We've been there. We've all been there. We're all connected to these hurricanes, and well, hopefully Laura moves through here pretty quickly. But I would hope this is the last we're going to see of a hurricane, but I doubt it. It's an early start to the season, and it's looking like a frenetic one. So keep your eye on the weather forecast. Catch them up this week. We'll see you again in September, next week, right here at thefisherman.com.
Steigercraft boats, built by people who fish our waters. Serious anglers choose Steigercraft for their 40 years of boat building experience right here in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Visit steigercraft.com for a dealer near you.